Hello there, friends and RC family. My name is Alec from High Noon Hobbies, and this time on the channel, we are headed back to Black Rock as the weather worsens at our last 10-gate competition to see if even the best driver can prevail when the elements start fighting back. Alrighty guys, we are headed back to the historic Black Rock site near the Great Salt Lake Marina for the same 10-gate competition put on by Scumbag RC that we have been covering for the last couple of weeks here on the channel. You guys seem to really enjoy these comp breakdown videos, and I personally really enjoy making them. I enjoy narrating, but you all know that I enjoy listening to myself talk. That's nothing new, but I mostly enjoy watching these guys drive. I really feel like I learn a lot every time I get to sit down and watch some of these runs and just break down what I think happened throughout the run. Speaking of learning a lot, this time on the channel we are taking a look at two of Dustin's runs from that last competition to see if, as the weather got worse and the snow started to stick to the rock, whether a really good driver can overcome even some of the worst elements the elements can throw at you. So without further ado, I will just get us straight into these runs, but before I do want to remind you that if you want to see a new video like this, or more than one video like this, every single week, go ahead and subscribe to this High Noon Hobby YouTube channel, and also don't forget to check out the High Noon Hobby merch shop for some of that 2023 gear, and we will be having some of those commemorative or collaborative patches coming soon, so definitely keep your ears perked and your eyes on all the social media channels for that and other events that are going to be coming up here in the year. And also, one last reminder, the North versus South series is starting up in just a little while here. I believe March 5th, March 4th, Saturday, Sunday. Go over to the Northern versus Southern Utah. I think it's Northern Slut Crawlers versus Southern Crawlers Facebook page. On there, you've got all of the events linked. You have all of the dates for those events, and let me know in the comment section down below if you need any of the specific dates, locations for any of these events. I actually have a Google Calendar set up for all of the events where I'm keeping track of everything and trying to make sure I have that information readily available for everyone. So let me know in the comment section down below if you need any of the information for these competitions, or if you're trying to make it out to one of these. If you're from out of state and you're coming in, let me know down below. I'd love to seek you out at one of these events and come and say hi. But without further ado, let's just jump straight into these runs. Not late to this run this time, mostly because I think Dustin is the only one crazy enough to still be running on these courses, so I wasn't running back and forth for this one. You can see just in these first few frames here, the snow is falling. The water spots are starting to form on the rocks, meaning that the rocks are starting to get a little bit colder and get a little bit slicker. We're going to see here how Dustin fares on two courses. We're actually going to get a peek into the second course here, the only run that I got recorded of the second course on this 10-gate competition. Two on this one, giving Dustin a bit of a hard time. Interestingly enough, this was the same gate that gave Kenny a hard time. And if you remember that, it was kind of a similar scenario where in last week's video, if you don't remember, or if you didn't catch that one, I definitely recommend going back and checking it out. We've been covering this comp for the last couple of weeks, and it has been pretty fun to see all of these drivers run. But either way, Kenny was also running a cliffhanger body, and it did seem a bit like the cliffhanger body got pinched on Dustin's run here, causing that issue for him on gate number 2. And then as I went through that gate, I also had a little bit of issue with the cliffhanger body. So it's kind of odd. I wonder if there was something to that. But making quick work of gate 4 there, Dustin trying to make up for the fact that he has hit a gate at this point, as well as gotten a rollover, a very unfortunate rollover, just not able to keep that wheel speed up as he comes down the descent for gate 3 and gets that rollover, causing a 5-point penalty. Definitely unfortunate way to start off a difficult run given the weather, given the circumstances. But that doesn't deter Dustin. He's one of the best drivers that I know, and one huge part of Dustin's great driving, in my opinion, is the way that he's able to keep his spirits high and really just give himself a fresh start to each new obstacle. And every time he needs to take a reset, take a breather, he does so. Oh dear. He takes a breather, and he gets himself into a mentality where he can enjoy the run. And that's something that I really respect about Dustin. I think that he does a great job keeping himself emotionally sure throughout his run, so that even if physically he's not sure what he needs to do, emotionally he's backing himself up, and he's going to continue to try his hardest and commit to each new line that he seeks out. Now, this gate here became kind of more of a doozy than we anticipated. There were two rocks that were allowing drivers to kind of easily get up through the V-notch, and those two rocks you can see now have slid way out from where they initially were. They are now more of a hindrance than a help, and on top of that, when they got unearthed, they left a bunch of soft soil in their wake, meaning that Dustin had a very hard time not digging giant holes as he was trying to make his way up that ledge. Now, he doesn't let that deter him. In fact, he uses it to his advantage, and he runs over monster trucks over the far driver's side cone in an effort to set himself up more for gate number 7. You can see that worked out really, really well for him. Of all the competitors that we've seen come through this course so far, Dustin's run through gate number 7 was definitely the smoothest. Now, he may have had to monster truck gate 6 for it, but that gate was already hit, so it was definitely in his advantage. Now, Dustin also going for this very, very nasty looking bonus, and you can tell that it's a bonus because of the way that it is, and he's going to try to make back some of these points so that he has a standing for the podium. Making his way through the V-notch, making it look easy even with a snowy approach. It's interesting that you see that he looped all the way around and hit this from the opposite side that the course would kind of lead you into it from, and that is something that I think Dustin just saw in the moment. I don't know that he had any experience running through that gate, but as he was looking at it, I think that he realized that hitting it from the back was going to be the best way. Always is. As we head through gate number 8 here, giving it just a tiny blip, just a very, very controlled amount of throttle as he comes out of gate number 8, not a problem whatsoever, and headed over. Also a pretty smooth run through that little boulder section between gate 8 and gate 9, and now we're into gate number 9. This gate has given even some of the better drivers a bit of a run for their money, and it's there's no exceptions here for Dustin. If it's given anyone else hell, it's going to give Dustin hell on this run. His tires are starting to pick up sand and hold on to it because of the moisture, and on top of that, the rock itself is starting to get more and more slick, and he doesn't even have a chance there. As he cruxes into the side hill, you can see that he slides down into that lower gate. Very unfortunate, but not too unfortunate because he still has yet another bonus to hit. We're going to see if anyone can hit this bonus. It's going to be Dustin, so let's see how he does through this very, very nasty line. Setting himself up in a different way than most of the contenders we've seen so far. He hit that far more to the passenger side than everyone else, and you can see it played to his advantage as that rear slid over into the driver's side, and he was able to pull himself up with a nice hook from that front axle. Now he's asking the judge about time. I think that was mostly to determine which way he was going to try to make it down that bonus gate, but makes it no problem either way, and now going through gate number 10 with a plus 18 and just over a 6-minute time. Great job there from Dustin. Definitely a great run, especially considering the elements, and a few unfortunate moments, but in terms of the way that Dustin was able to hold his composure and the few little things that he did to kind of take the advantage back, he was able to maintain a very competitive score with a pretty rough run. Now we're going to head into the second course here. As I mentioned, this is a course that we have not seen yet, so you're going to see what most competitors reported to be the gnarlier of the two courses. right out of the gate, getting hung up just a little bit there, but able to make it through that hang up without any sort of reverse. Same thing here, yet another hang up, just trying to get into the setup for gate number 1, and that's what many drivers reported. This is actually, I think, one of 2 runs where Dustin was able to make it, or any competitor was able to make it up onto this rock and through the gate without having to take a reverse. Now that's especially impressive considering the conditions that Dustin's dealing with here. You can see again the water spots on the rock getting even more pronounced as the weather starts to really take its toll on the traction in this environment. This is a high traction area. Black Rock is known to bind up your truck and not let it go, as you can see just happened there to Dustin. But even that being said, you're definitely losing traction on some key points as the snow starts to settle and dissipate some moisture onto these lines. Headed into gate number 2, again another nasty one. As you saw, the setup for this one was brutal. Lots of catch points and really having to stay balanced through that notch as it makes a right-hand turn, which is interesting. Always interesting to try to stay balanced through a V-notch around a curve. Headed into talking about around a curve, gate number 3 here. Now this one's brutal because it just doesn't set you up well. You have to make this very tight driver side turn, left-hand side turn, and you've got to do it while really not having any way to set yourself away from that wall on the driver's side. As you saw there, it was a problem for Dustin, and he ended up tapping that gate. Just like in his course number 1, tapping a gate and then nearly immediately hitting that rollover. Very unfortunate, and interestingly enough, that was something that the judge of this course was mentioning had happened to several drivers. So he wasn't the only one. Multiple drivers ended up turtled on that in that area, and I can see why. It was a very steep descent and kind of almost left up to chance whether or not you were going to land on your wheels or on your roof. Now through here, the video starts to get a little bit glitchy, so I do apologize for that, but this is a bonus gate for this course number 2. I don't know if anyone got this bonus gate. I'm assuming someone did, but by the time we got to it here, it is so slick. And making the transfer, it's one thing to get up this bonus gate because you kind of have the little wedge or the end of the rock that you can use to wedge your wheel against, but once you have to make the transfer over to avoid that upper cone on the passenger side of this gate, you're just absolutely screwed. It was too slick, and Dustin wasn't able to get the hook that he needed. He's going to try to take a couple reverses and a few more goes at it here to see if he can't get himself back to the position he was in initially. Unfortunately, it's just not giving him what he needs, and he decides to cut his losses, which again, I think someone a little less experienced may have continued their luck or continued to push their luck through that section and potentially end up in a much worse case than just taking 3 reverses. 3 reverses is totally acceptable through that section right there, just to see if it was possible to make that bonus gate and make up a little bit of make up a few points along the way. Headed through that gate, no problem. Dustin made a comment in real time that he should have given a little blip through there, and I agree. I think just a little bit of a blip through that last gate would have helped him not get so hung up on the skid plate. Either way, he made it through there without much issue whatsoever. Has to, unfortunately, take a reverse as he's making his way through to the next gate because he gets just a very unlucky bounce and ends up in kind of a nasty cave almost, where there's really no way out besides reversing. So he takes that reverse in stride, and then he heads to just absolute brutality. Now here, this is where we're really starting to see the impact of the snow on the rock. Throughout the rest of this course, we've seen little impact. We've seen some difficulty that we hadn't seen other drivers have, and we've seen some slippage that we hadn't seen previously, and that is definitely because of this nasty weather, this inclement weather coming in, and it does pose a real challenge. If you end up being the guy who has to run a course in the snow when the rest of the competitors, or rain, or any sort of conditions, even wind can be can be a real challenge, especially if you're on a significant ledge or an area with many ledges. You can have a real problem with wind pushing you off of those ledges. With rain, it's obvious it's making things wet. You're losing traction, and same here with snow. Even when the snow isn't really fully stacked up on the rock, and when you don't have a good base coat of snow, that doesn't mean it isn't taking away from your traction. It's sticking to your tires. It's causing your tires to be more moist. It's causing your tires to pick up more sand, and it's causing your tires to pick up other types of debris. And then in general on the rock, it's also causing a lower traction environment on the rock itself. That's really unfortunate that Dustin had to take the gate there, because that's actually the gate that he set for this course. So he knew that that gate was possible. He knew that he could get through that gate, and that just shows the intensity of the weather here and how much it's impacting his run. Now, unfortunately, he gets into a scenario here. He takes it just a little bit too fast the first time up, and this is a nasty, nasty transfer. And as he gets up that first time, he slides off to the passenger side into the crack. Now, that wouldn't be a huge deal if you had enough time, but we're running a 7-minute course on here. That means that he only has a few seconds to make up for the mistakes on the rest of the run, and really mainly for the fact that he isn't able to get anywhere. His tires aren't moving him anywhere. So he has to take a few more reverses to get himself set up for it, but he does manage to make it up and over this ledge and through gate 6 before the end of the course. So well done, Dustin. But as you can see, the elements definitely can take their toll even with the best driver. Alrighty, folks, that is all I have for you this time. And Dustin, you put up a very, very good fight. I definitely commend you on your efforts. You did better than I did running the course right after you. So I think if one of us was going to have to fight the elements, I would definitely pick you. But thank you all for watching. I appreciate you making it to the end of the video. If you did enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a like. Lets me know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. So if you didn't like it, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know your feedback, and if you have a better video idea, I'd love to hear it. So until next time, guys, I hope you hit some hard lines, maybe some scale trails, and well, we'll see you soon. Cheers.